Very excited about this time that we have here this morning. I want to share with you guys kind of my hopes and goals here for the next 40-45 minutes, all right? I am a big fan of just kind of, hey, open room, open discussion, and this is a topic that I don't know where you're at right now. I'm assuming since this is a middle school only track that you're all in middle school, all right? I'll bypass some of the adults that are in the room, all right? But I will tell you this, that this topic is something that I wish I was taught when I was in middle school, all right? Because I think it can really change who you are as a 6th, 7th, 8th grader. It doesn't matter what grade or what grade you're going into, all right? It's something that you are never too young to accomplish something. So we're going to dig into this idea here in a little bit. But first, you guys have no idea who I am. I know I introduced myself by first name and that I'm from a hometown where we drop a big giant paper mache pickle for New Year's. But that is meaningless in comparison to some other things, all right? My name is Todd Shoemaker. I'm the pastor of student ministries at Grace Church Bath Campus in Akron, Ohio. I've been there for getting ready to complete my 6th year, getting ready to start my 7th. I'm a Grace College graduate. I did my undergrad at Grace, and so I graduated there in 2010. Volunteered 4 years at Warsaw Community Grace Brethren Church there. Got a representation, and that's awesome, all right? Loved my time at Grace, got equipped well, and very excited just about all Grace is doing there. It's awesome, it's good. I am married. I've been married for 2 years, and I also have a son who is 4 months old. If you see me walking around with a little baby, he is here all week. I'm very excited about that. I'm saying the youngest momentum participant this year. He's loving it. He was rocking out to Jordan Howard's last night. It was great, all right? And so very exciting, just kind of the changes that have happened in my life in the past couple of years, and it's been good. It's been fun, all right? So my son's name is Graham. Graham is a good little boy. I love being a dad, but I will tell you this. My life completely changed 4 months ago, all right? The ability to stay out late hanging out with students, that's out the window, all right? I have to be home helping my wife, but it's good. All right? My wife's name is Katie, and so if you see us walking around, be sure to say hi. Say, hey, Katie, I know you. She'll be freaked out. It'll be good, all right? Just go up to her and just like, I know you. I know everything about you. I know that your son is 4 months old, and his name is Graham. She'll love it. All right, please do. It'll be fun. Okay. So Akron, Ohio, been there for 6 years. We have some opportunity to celebrate in Northeast Ohio. Well, Ohio as a whole. The Cleveland Cavaliers won a championship for the city of Cleveland after a 52-year drought. Have you guys heard about it in your other states? If not, you're going to hear about it all day today. All right, it's good. Well, hey, got a question for you. I want to jump in here. Recently, if you're watching TV or if you're on social media or you're on the internet somewhere, have you noticed a commercial or a ad that will throw your way? Have you ever noticed something that's fascinating about commercials now, these days? Have you ever noticed something like, if you're flipping through the channels, maybe you're like, Todd, I don't use commercials, right? Netflix is where it's at and I don't have to watch commercials anymore. Hey, that's fine. But commercials and ads on social media, they're actually very strategic. Have you ever noticed something about them? What do you think? Nothing? Did you know that they actually know who is watching? Did you know that they actually have a grasp of the target that is watching their commercial at that time? They actually know, in a way, who you are, what your interests are, and they know things about you, and you're like, wait, what? And they actually build these commercials, these ads, to target you. It's fascinating. So you as a young person, right, you'll flip through and maybe it's, I don't know, an interest of yours, maybe it's a band, or maybe it's just the genre of music that you like. These ads will start popping up, these commercials will start popping up, and they know who you are. It's crazy. And they'll want to try to get your attention in order to get you to buy something that you really like, all right? These companies are getting really smart, all right? Well, I have to tell you something. What they're trying to target me with now is like anti-aging cream, all right? Or Rogaine, hair loss, or trying to eliminate gray hairs. And guys, I'm only 28 years old. I don't know what kind of message they're trying to get across to me, but these are the different kind of commercials that are ads that they're throwing my way. I don't understand. It hurts. I want to play with toys still. I don't want to have to take care of gray hairs or hair loss or anti-aging cream. It's funny. But our culture, especially in the media world, is understanding who their audience is. And they're trying to grab a hold of your attention, lure you in order to buy their product, right? And it'll change the order that you get and things that they're wanting you to buy as you get older, all right? But as we get into this, all right, what I want us to do, I was at the store the other day, and literally I was sitting there contemplating, I'm like, man, should I buy the solution to help get rid of the gray hair in my beard? All right, I was literally, a couple days ago I had my beard grown out, all right? And I thought that, I'm like, maybe I should just cover up the gray hair. And instead I'm like, nope, not gonna fall into that lure that they're trying to get my attention with, to buy that gray elimination cream that will help dye it back to its normal color. Nope, all right? I decided to shave my beard, all right? So I'm gonna stay young by getting rid of my beard and not have the gray hair stick out, all right? Question for you, have you guys ever been asked or been told that you are too young to accomplish something? Have you ever been told, man, you're just too young. Wait a couple years. Wait until you're fill in the blank age. Have you ever been told you're too young? I have, all right? And I'll be honest, that phrase drives me nuts. Because what we're gonna talk about today is I truly believe that you and I, in this room, we're not too young. I still try to say that I'm too young, all right? I wanna be young. But did you notice that you guys, where you're at, let's say you're 12, 13, 14, 15, even if you're 16, doesn't matter, right? You're always looking to be older, right? You're like, man, I just can't wait till I get my license so I can drive around, right? So that mom and dad don't have to take me on that date anymore, right? Yeah, guys, dating when mom and dad are driving, just wait, all right? Just wait. Be patient. It's good. But you think about it, it's like, man, I just want to be older. I can't wait till I get to this age. I can't wait to be able to drive. I can't wait till mom and dad release me so I have a little bit more freedom to hang out with my friends, right? You guys are so eager to just grow up a little bit, all right? But it's amazing when you get to my age, you look back, you're like, man, I just wish I was younger, right? I wish I would be able to go back, because think about it. There's some perks that you have for being young. You don't have to pay bills, taxes, right? You don't have to be responsible all the time, right? You have your parents, a little bit of a safety net for you. There's some good things that you have coming your way by being young, and I want to capitalize on that. I want you to be able to see that where you're at right now, the stage of life that you're in, is a good place to be. And God has some incredible things for you and in store for you right where you're at, whatever school you're in, whatever grade you're in, whatever age you are. God is going to use you right where you are, all right? And I truly believe that you have the ability to make a difference. But you have to believe in it, all right? And so we're going to walk into this a little bit. I remember being told once that I was too young to do something, all right? I was 10 years old. I so eagerly wanted to ride my uncle's four-wheeler. All right, I grew up in Pennsylvania, like I said, and so there was a lot of room to be able to just hop on the four-wheeler, drive out, have some fun. And so my uncle's house had this awesome backyard. He had a ton of property, and he built these like trails through the woods for his four-wheeler, right? He built some of these like ramps that he could go off. It was awesome, right? Well, at 10 years old, my eyes lit up. I'm like, I want to ride or drive that four-wheeler, right? He would occasionally take me out, but it was like, he would go real slow. He's like, be sure to hold on. Here's the helmet. It's good to be safe. I'm all about that, right? But at 10 years old, I'm like, man, I want control of that thing. I wanted to be able to drive it. So I watched my uncle. I understood what it took in order to turn it on. I understood how to, make it move. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not too young. And so I hopped on that four-wheeler. I put the helmet on. I was safe, right? I turned it on. I put it into gear. And next thing I know it, I'm in the middle of my garage because I reversed and went right through my uncle's garage door. All right? No lie. I hopped on the four-wheeler. I thought I had everything I needed. I hit the throttle, right? And I went straight backwards right into the garage. All right? You should have seen my uncle's face, right? I thought I had everything under control. 10 years old, hopped right on there, and next thing I know it, there I am, in the middle of my uncle's garage. Not a pleasant sight. Don't recommend it. All right? So just a little funny story, but here's the thing. Have you ever been there before where you're like, man, you have had someone tell you that you are just too young, to be patient, to wait. Man, when you get older, you're going to be able to accomplish this. Man, I got told that all the time. I got told that by my uncle. You need to grow up a little bit. You need to get older in order to drive this four-wheeler yourself. Well, I understand why he said that at the time, okay? But have you ever been told that by maybe a parent, maybe a youth leader, maybe a youth pastor or your senior pastor, maybe a teacher or a mentor? Because I do believe that we've had adults telling us, man, you need to wait until you get older a little bit. Well, my goal for us today is this. As I look around this room, I see middle school students who have the ability to make a difference. All right? And I want you to know up front that I believe in you. All right? I believe God has an incredible plan for you and that He can use you right where you are right this minute to make a difference in our world. All right? And so we're going to unpack this idea a little bit. We're going to be looking at some truth from a guy by the name of Paul. Have you ever heard of Paul before? Right? Paul's a great guy, great model to learn a lot from. Well, Paul shares some awesome truth to a guy by the name of Timothy that I want us to dig into a little bit. All right? Because I think this truth will help you understand that you aren't too young to make a difference. All right? You're not too young to be a world changer. All right? I sit here in front of my students every week and I look at my middle school students and I say, man, I want you to know that I truly believe that this room has the ability to change this world. And the same is true for you, because when I say it's your culture, your age group, your generation, I do believe have the ability, you hold what it takes to make a difference and change this world for the better. All right? I mean, I don't know if you pay attention a lot, but man, our world's not really going in a good direction. There's a lot of things that just aren't going well. But I truly believe you guys can help change that and bring this world to a better place. I think you can change lives, and I think you can make a difference, especially in the name of Jesus. Okay? And so as we dig into this, what I want you to do is open up your Bibles. All right? Open up your Bibles to the book of 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy. We're going to be looking at one verse here that is jam-packed. It's a good one. 1 Timothy. We're going to be looking at a letter that Paul wrote as an encouragement here. And he wrote it, as we look at this, you have to understand Paul, when he wrote this, was in his later years of life. All right? He was probably coming to an end of his life, right? He's getting older. And he wrote this letter to be an encouragement to a guy by the name of Timothy. All right? Timothy was a much younger leader. And so as we read this, I want you to kind of understand this idea that here's Paul, a man of wisdom, older in his life, writing a letter back to a younger leader named Timothy. And he's providing encouragement for Timothy. And what's fascinating about this is, think about this. Have you ever had a grandparent, or maybe a great-grandparent, who would write a letter to you, or a card, and you would read what that card says, and you're like, man, Grandpa is such a wise person, or Grandma is such a wise person. I always take what they write. I always love seeing or hearing what they have to say, because man, later in years, it comes with wisdom, right? Well, what if you knew that maybe Grandma or Grandpa, their life, they're getting older in years, and maybe they're not doing so well. You're not sure how much longer they're going to be around. And what if they wrote you a letter? All right? What if they wrote you a letter and said, man, Todd, I want you to know this. And they just go through these things of encouragement and these things of advice or wisdom. Man, if you knew that they weren't going to be around much longer, you would want to read that letter and understand what that letter has to say and really take to heart the wisdom that they're trying to give us. Well, here, I think Timothy was doing the exact same thing. Here's Paul getting older in his years, and honestly, as this letter was written, he wanted to grasp everything that Paul was saying, because he knew that Paul's time on earth was going to come to an end soon. And he wanted to hear the words and the wisdom that Paul had to share. And so Timothy, understanding this and taking the letter that Paul had written and wanting to take it as true encouragement and taking it into his life. right? And so here we have Paul, the older person, writing this letter to give encouragement to Timothy, who is this young leader, all right? A young leader who is in need of leading other adults, right, older than him, trying to lead a church, trying to lead people in a situation that could be very difficult for a young person. But 1 Timothy chapter 4. 1 Timothy chapter 4, we're going to look at verse 15. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 15. If someone's there, you want to read it nice and loud for me? 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 15. It's real simple. Go for it. Nice and loud for me.
Be diligent in these matters. Keep yourself diligent, so that everyone may see your progress.
Okay. Did I give the wrong verse? I'm pretty sure it's 1 Timothy, or is it 2 Timothy?
I think she might have read the wrong one.
Okay. Is it 4:15? Yeah? Okay. That's all right. Maybe it's a little different here. So this is what mine says. It says, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young. All right? So right here, you're looking at this, and it's saying Paul is telling Timothy, man, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young. Your age is no longer a factor. I don't want anyone to look down on you because you're young. But set an example for all believers in the way you talk, in your actions, in the love that you have for people, your faith in the Lord, and in your purity. He's saying, don't let anyone stand in the way of what you're trying to do. Don't let anyone look down on you because you're young. But set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. All right? Basically what Paul is sharing here with Timothy is like, look, I believe in you. I believe that you have what it takes to really lead these people well. Your age should not be something that creeps in and makes you doubt your ability to lead others. All right?
I'm not sure that reference.
Is it 2 Timothy? 4:12. I'm sorry.
4:12.
Thank you.
Thank you. 1 Timothy.
1 Timothy 4:12. 1 Timothy 4:12. Thank you. Don't let anyone look down on you because you're young. But set the example. The way you talk, the way you act, your love, your faith, and in purity. All right? So here you have Paul, this mentor, right? This person that Timothy looked up to. And here's Paul. I kind of get this picture. It's like, man, Timothy, you have what it takes. I believe in you. You can make a difference. Man, I'm sure Timothy, if you're anything like me, started to have all these insecurities creep in, right? Because how many of you at your youth groups, it's maybe middle school and high school combined? Middle school and high school combined, right? It's like, hey, you get together whenever your youth group meets, whether it's a Wednesday night, a weeknight, or on a weekend night. Man, here you are, middle school and high school. Is it intimidating for you when you're in a room with a bunch of older students? All right, it's okay. We're all middle school students in here, outside of the adults. All right, so it's okay to be open here. All right, is it intimidating for you when you're in a room when you know that there are juniors and seniors in the room? Is it intimidating for you? I'm asking. I'm curious. Yeah. So like if your youth pastor, youth worker asks a question, is it easy for you to say, I'm just going to let one of the older students answer? Does that happen? I know when I was in middle school, I struggled with that. Because my youth group was small. There was like 20, 25 of us, right? And there was only a handful of us out of that 25 that were middle school. And I just remember a youth pastor would ask a question. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to let those juniors and seniors answer it. I'm just going to let them handle the conversation. And I kind of took a back seat, right? But what I want us to get into is like, what if I said that you actually have what it takes to make a difference in your youth group right where you're at? What if I said, you know what? You as a 7th, 8th grader, you can start to stand up and you can also begin leading and setting the example and setting the tone for the entire youth group. It doesn't matter what grade the other students are, you can begin making a difference right now. I look at this, I'm going to brag a little bit. So have you ever heard a guy by the name of LeBron James? No, he's nobody, right? LeBron James. arguably one of the best NBA basketball players to play, all right? And as I think about this, LeBron, where he grew up in Akron, so in the town that I have the privilege of living at right now, he went to the school, and I was watching a documentary about LeBron. And he said that his teachers at the school would always ask him, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And his answer was an NBA basketball player. And these teachers would kind of like, smirk and laugh. Well, no, what do you really want to be? What's going to be your real job, right? And he stuck to that. And what he was told by these teachers is like, well, you know what? You're never going to play in the NBA. So you got to pick a career path, right? And so he was told, it's like, hey, you're just too young. You're just a kid. You're just a kid. And it's amazing, LeBron was confident in his abilities. He stuck with that idea, I'm going to be an NBA basketball player. He set the bar, he ran after it. And he didn't allow the phrase, you're just a kid, to hold him back. All right. What's funny is after he won the NBA championship this year, there was a huge parade right outside of his house, where my office is literally a quarter of a mile from LeBron's house. All right. And so the roads are just packed with people. And I remember, I didn't go see it in person, but I saw a video of it. He gets out of the van, and do you know what his tagline is? He was thanking everyone for being there. He now took advantage of what his teachers or his mentors were saying to him when he was younger, and said, you know what? I'm just a kid from Akron. He went and he accomplished great things as a basketball player. All right? And he heard for many, many years, you're just a kid. Go find a real job, right? NBA, don't get your hopes up. Well, he stuck with it. He pursued, he trained, he equipped himself, and he understood, man, I'm not too young to put my mind to this. I'm not too young to run after this and make a difference. And he became, like I said, arguably one of the best NBA basketball players to play. But he's just a kid from Akron. Now, you may not go on to be an NBA basketball player, right? You may not go on to be a famous musician. You may not go on to be all this, receive all this fame, but you do have the ability to make a ripple effect, a huge difference in your schools, in your neighborhoods, in your youth group, and in your home. You as a middle school student, you have everything you possibly need in order to make that difference. Paul knew that in Timothy. Paul knew that Timothy held everything he needed. He just couldn't let his insecurities creep in. Guys, if I would have known this truth, if I would have been told, you know what, Todd, you are not too young to make a difference as a 7th or 8th grader, man, I don't know what I would have been able to accomplish. But I allowed my insecurities to creep in. I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to let them handle it. When I become a high school student, I'll start to lead. When I'm a high school student, I'll start to speak up and give answers when a question's asked. I wish I would have taken advantage of who God created me to be when I was in 7th and 8th grade. And I wish I had someone like Paul take me by the shoulders and say, you know what, you have what it takes. Don't let anyone look down on you because you're young. So what I want us to do is there's a couple things I want us to believe, to dig into. I want you to understand that you have the ability, but it starts with this. You have to believe you can do those things. You have to build the confidence up in yourself in order to say, man, I know I can make a difference. I know I have what it takes. If you start to believe that in your mind and your heart, things will start to come true with that. But if you doubt yourself, if you doubt, man, I don't have that ability to step up and lead. I don't have the chance to be able to lead my peers. Well, you're gonna miss that chance. You're gonna miss that opportunity. And so it starts with believing that you have what it takes. And so what I want us to do is I have some discussion questions that I want us to talk about. I'm actually going to allow you to talk with the person right beside you or the couple people around you first. And then maybe we'll open it up to the room. All right? But I want us to start thinking about what does it look like for you, whatever grade you're in, 7th, 8th grade, it doesn't matter. Your context of where you're at, whether you live in Maryland, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, all right, or South Carolina, right? Did I miss any other states? No. Okay. So it doesn't matter what context you're in. I want you to start to develop this mindset. Man, I can make a difference. I can step up and I can start making a difference in the context of school, your home, your church, your neighborhoods. All right? So I want us to start thinking that direction. And I'm not giving exact application points yet. I'm not giving you hey, try this when you get home. Because I want you to start thinking, because you know you best. You know the circles that you are involved in at home with your friends, your family, your church youth group, right? You know it best. And so I want you to start thinking, all right, with the person beside you or a couple people around you, to start talking about this a little bit. So here's the first question, all right? What are things that you can begin doing now to begin the difference making? All right? So what are some things that you can start putting into practice in order to start making a difference? What do you think you have the ability to do? All right? Talk with the person beside you. We're going to do about a minute and a half of each, all right? And then we'll continue moving on. All right? What do you think you have, abilities you have, in order to start making a difference now? Talk with the person beside you. All right? Okay, here's the next question. All right? Maybe you already do this, and this is fantastic. I love if you're already involved in this. But here's my next question. What leadership can you develop in your youth group? What leadership do you think you could develop in your youth group? So think about that. That's kind of a complex situation, because it's like, man, who did God create you to be? Right? Talk about it. What do you guys think?
Is there any way you could give them some examples?
Sure.
I
Yep.
think that would help.
Absolutely.
I think they're kind of thinking about what you're saying, but I think having tangible examples
Yep.
helps them to put that into.
Absolutely. Yep.
For
So
both
think about
questions.
this. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So here's the first one. Let's go back to this. What are some difference makers? What are some things that you can do to start making a difference? It's broad, it's narrow, it can be anything, right? It starts back, and I love what Clayton set us up with last night, right? Because I think it can tie back into who am I? Understanding who you are is huge, right? Now that's something that even myself as a 28-year-old am still trying to understand. I think we're always trying to understand who we are and who God has created us to be. But did you know that God created you with abilities, with talents that are unique to you? All right? They're yours. It's who He created you to be. So what are some things in that area? What are you good at? Ask that question. What is something that you're good at? Is it a sport? Is it playing an instrument? Is it talking to people? Right? Some people, it was so funny. I had a student, she's like, Todd, I'm not really good at much, but I do love to talk. I'm like, that's awesome, right? That is a huge ability, because I get uncomfortable at times starting new conversations, but she'll go up and she'll talk to anybody. I'm like, that is an ability that God has given you that you can really utilize to make a difference. So what are you good at? Let's start there, all right? I appreciate it, yep. We're going to talk some application here in a second, but that's excellent. What are you good at? And how can you start applying those things to making a difference? Looking at your youth group, you love playing an instrument. Do you guys have a youth band? Do you guys have the ability to lead worship? All right. We now have a youth band simply because we had 3 students say, I love to play the drums, I love to play the guitar, and I love to sing. I said, fantastic. We're going to start utilizing that, right? They came to me, so now we have a youth band, right? I'm not going to lead in worship. You don't want to hear me sing, all right? It is not pretty. And so here you go, student-led. So what are you good at? Thinking in youth group, I love to talk. Great, right? Have you ever talked to your youth pastor and said, youth pastor, is there any way that I can help? Is there any ways that I can serve? Is there any leadership opportunities that I can have? I have a young man who's a 7th grader right now, and he is literally just running after Jesus as fast as he can. He's like, Todd, I can't provide enough for him to do. He wants to serve so much, any opportunity that he has. Well, I actually brought him with me. I was speaking at a school, and I said, I want you to come with me, all right? And I just want you to observe, right? I want you to observe kind of how talking to a crowd looks. And that weekend, he's like, Todd, I think I can do that. And so him and I, we worked together, and he was actually able to lead the discussion at youth group the following weekend. right? He's like, Todd, I can do that. So what I'm trying to do is getting your mind built around who's God created you to be. And I appreciate you asking that question there, because Clayton set us up well last night, getting us to talk about that. And how can you apply those things into who you are right where you're at right now? Here's the third one. At school, I think school is a big place. Because what would it look like if you went to lunch and instead of continuing to sit with the crowd of friends that you would always sit with, instead you maybe sat with a group that, or a student or a peer of yours that doesn't get talked to very much? What kind of example would that provide? What example would that do for that person? You're like, man, instead of sitting with all of my friends that I sit with every day at lunch, I'm actually just going to step out of my comfort zone and go have a conversation with this student who is sitting alone. Or what if you included them in? You see what I'm saying? See what kind of ripple effect that would have? Do you see what difference that would make? You're now looking outside of the, I call it the narrow focus view of your own life, and you're starting to look around your surroundings. There's things at school you can do. Ask your teacher, hey, how can I serve you today? Right? Looking at your lunch table as you leave, you're like, hey, I'm just going to make sure this table's wiped down before we leave. Right? There's little things that you can begin doing. And the last place is your neighborhood. All right? Or your neighbors, those who are around you. The example that you can set for other people. Because remember, Paul shared with Timothy, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, but with your speech and actions. Man, set the example as a believer for others to see. And you can take that into practice, in your neighborhoods as well. Go into the next door neighbor. I have this sweet, sweet little old lady that lives next door. She is the sweetest little lady, all right? And I go over there and I just love talking to her. We took our son over for her to be able to meet him, and she loved it, right? But I do my best. I try to help her with the lawn, and I try to help her when it snows, remove the snow from her driveway and her sidewalks, right? I don't know her very well, but I just know that by the example that I can provide, by doing some of those tasks, I'm hoping to make an impact in her life. I'm not sitting there and being like, well, I'm doing this because I love Jesus. No, I don't say that. But I hope that through conversation she can see that this is an overflow of my love for Jesus. All right? So, but let's look at this. I want you to write some things down. All right? Context of youth group. All right? Jot some things down first. What are some things that you're good at? What are some things that you're good at? It can be anything. You love to draw. You love to run around screaming, looking crazy. I like that one. That one's fun. What are you good at? Now, think youth group. All right, whatever your church youth group looks like, or church as a whole, if there's not a youth group. Are there things that you can think of at church that you see happening right now that you're like, you know what? I could potentially get involved in that area. All right. Now you have to understand all of our context of youth group and church could be different, right? And so like for ours, the youth band was something that was developed because a student had a passion to play an instrument, right? And so we started something up from there. The things that you're good at, even if it's a sport, how are there ways that you can connect who God has created you to be, the talents and abilities that you have been given, and how can you tie that into serving at the church? Let's talk about that a second. I want to make sure that we're on the same page here. All right? Is anyone willing to say, hey, you know what? I'm really good at this, and I think I have a good idea of how to connect that. What do you think? Good.
I like to sing.
Yeah.
Sing for my youth group.
That's awesome. And so have you had the chance to do that?
No. Like literally that's why.
Is that what they said?
Well, a lot of them are people who are in high school.
Okay. Is it a youth band? Is it something that's like youth oriented, or is it just kind of like a pickup group that tends to sing every once in a while?
It's
Okay. That's awesome. Have you ever asked anybody?
no.
No? Okay. All right. This is good. This is actually what I want to get to. That's awesome. All right? Because here's the thing. If you love to sing, right, we want to make sure that you're using the talents that God gave you, right? Because I believe you're not too young. all right? And so what we're going to talk about is like, I want to encourage, let's take that example right there. I want to encourage you at some point this week, right? Talk to the leader, all right, of whoever leads that. Now, if it's a student, maybe talk to your pastor. Is there something that I can do to help get plugged into that singing group or the band or whatever it might be, right? And if they're like, hey, this is going to be high school only, that's fine. Then I want you to create a new opportunity. What if it's like, what if I got other middle school students who like to sing and we started our own group, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? But I want to give you the ability, the courage. Remember, Paul looked at Timothy, hey, you're not too young. You can do this. I want to be able to say, man, go talk to your youth leader and say, hey, I would really like to utilize my talents. Is there an opportunity that we can create or a way that I can get plugged in to use what God has given me? Excellent. I love that. Anything else? Anybody else? Something that you think that you could dial in to youth group there? How about school? As you guys think of your school, how many of you go to a public school? How many of you go to a private school, Christian school? Anybody homeschooled? Okay, hey, that's all right, no worries, right? And so as you look at this, what are ways that you can take who God has created you to be to start making a difference at school? Remember, I don't know your context of school here, right? But what do you think you can do to start making a difference? What do you think? Yeah, go ahead. What's that? Absolutely. Right? Do you enjoy math? Oh, I might need some tutoring in math. I'm horrible at math, all right? That's awesome. You're like, I love math. I'm good at it. Man, think about the opportunity that you have. Say, hey, are you struggling with this one? Hey, that's okay, right? Why don't we sit down over lunch or after school and let's do it together? Love it. Boom, perfect. What else? What else? It's good. I can tell your wheels are turning, and this is good. All right? Okay, we'll come back to it if we have to. How about your neighbors, right? Other people. It can be people that you run into at the mall. It can be your actual, literal, next-door neighbors. How can you love people? How can you make a difference in our community for who God has created you to be? Here's one way that we had the opportunity to do just last week. Have you ever heard of Feed My Starving Children? Have you ever heard? Have you ever done one of their packing events? Right? It's so much fun, right? But here, we had the opportunity to do a packing event where we had hundreds of people come together and just packed these meals, right? 500,000 meals is what we packed as a church. And it wasn't just our church people, but I went to my next door neighbor and said, hey, would you want to come with me? Here's an opportunity to make a difference in the community, right? To make a difference in the world, to feed starving children all around the world. And my neighbors lit up, right? They're like, yeah, I'd love to come. Well, they don't go to church, but they love the idea of being able to help, right? And so is there an opportunity that your church is doing, or maybe your school is even doing, that you could invite your neighbors along and say, hey, come experience this with me, so that we can serve together, all right? Guys, this whole time, I know it's really a think starter. It's what I want you to do is to get your mind wrapped around this idea that you are never too young to make a difference and to do great things. God has created you exactly the way that He wants you. He looked at you when you were created and He said, it is good. Right? And that is a truth that, man, I want you guys to cling on to. Because what did Clayton say last night? When you understand who you are, right, you'll kind of know what to do. Man, that's huge. And so understanding who you are and who God has created you to be, and understanding the truth of what Paul looked at Timothy in the eye kind of as his mentor and said, Timothy, you're not too young. Buddy, you can do this. I believe in you. I feel like it's a coach, right? That moral support coach. You got this. And there Paul gave everything Timothy needed, the encouragement and the courage to be able to push forward. And I want you to know that you have that too. And so maybe it's a step this afternoon, you find your youth pastor and say, man, I'd love to be more involved. How can I serve you? How can I serve the youth group? How can I serve our church? Is there a leadership position that I could get plugged into? Is there a way that I can start making a difference in the youth group? Maybe it's going home, Mom, Dad, I want to start to make a difference in this house. I want to start to make a difference in our neighborhood. What can we do together as a family to start having that ripple effect of making a difference? And then when school starts up here in the next month or so, man, having that mindset, man, I've got what it takes. I'm not too young. I can start making a difference with my friends, with my teachers, at the lunch table, in the classroom, or even after school, tutoring in math, right? You have what it takes to make a difference. All right, hey, if you want to talk about this more, would love, I'll stick around. But I encourage you, talk to your youth leader at some point this week, all right? And start to explore the opportunities that might be out there for you. All right, you guys are awesome. Let me pray for you. Lord God, I'm grateful for these young people. I'm grateful that you have created and developed each and every single one of us exactly the way you wanted us to be. God, I pray that we could search and identify what you've given to us that's unique, that we can start putting into effect and having that ability to make a difference, Lord. God, I pray that you will put people in front of us even this week here at Momentum, that we can start to influence and start to have a positive impact in their lives as well. God, I know that making a difference is a big thing, but it starts with the idea of believing that we have what it takes, that we have everything we need in order to make a difference for your name. So God, you're good. We love you, and we love all that you're doing in and throughout our lives. We pray this in your name.